Hey everybody, and welcome back to another max velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we're going over that severe weather potential for today, tomorrow, and Tuesday across the United States. It's going to be a very active next several days. I'll give you the latest breakdown on the timing, the intensity of the storms, who can expect them, everything that you need to know will be in this forecast. Let's first begin with the nationwide look currently at this trough that'll be bringing the severe weather over the next several days. That's that trough back up in the northern plains. It is actually bringing a winter storm to areas back up in Montana as well as Wyoming and Colorado right now. That will continue for the next 12 to 24 hours, but eventually we'll see some severe storms fire up this afternoon and as well as this evening across areas like the western Midwest back through the central plains. So it'll be an active day today. Heading into tomorrow, it'll be a bit of a different story. A different trough coming out of actually Mexico will eventually bring some severe storms back down to the southern plains, which could actually bring all modes of severe weather as well, with damaging winds, large hail, and a potential tornado threat existing. And eventually heading into Tuesday, we'll have a same story, but it'll go further east with that trough that'll start to intensify, bring the potential for a line of storms across areas like the Dixie Valley, back through Tennessee and Kentucky, with all modes of severe weather possible as well on Tuesday. Wednesday, everything starts to clear out, and as well as Thursday, we won't see a whole lot of activity for the end of the week, but the upcoming weekend has more in store. We'll have more on that in another forecast. First, beginning with the severe weather potential for today, there is a slight risk from Minnesota back through northern Kansas, so that will be a big area to watch today. Damaging winds is my main concern. I can't rule out an isolated tornado threat, maybe a little bit of $quarter to $half sized hail as well. And if it gets nasty out there tonight, I will be live, so make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. Also, make sure you click the bell icon so you're notified when I go live. Going into the future radar across Nebraska, beginning with about 6 o'clock, this is when our initial storm development will begin from about Grand Island back through Lincoln, as well as Omaha, Nebraska. By about 7 8 o'clock, those storms will be racing off to the north, going towards areas like Sioux Falls, back through Omaha and Lincoln, maybe a few storms remaining. By 9 to 10 o'clock, most of that storm activity will shift into areas like northwest Iowa, back into Minnesota. As I said before, these storms will be racing, so by 10 to 11 o'clock, they will be arriving in the areas near St. Cloud, west of Minneapolis. By 12 to 1 in the morning, storms will be moving through areas like St. Cloud, also just west of Minneapolis, and then a cluster of storms will be ongoing through central and northern Minnesota, with isolated damaging winds being my main concern there. Heading into actually late tonight into tomorrow, there is a marginal threat in areas like Wichita Falls, back through about Abilene, Texas. This will be mainly for just damaging wind gusts if any storms are able to develop late tonight, but going to tomorrow is my main concern. We have a slight risk of severe weather back through Interstate 35 southeast of DFW, going through Houston, Texas, and this will be an area to watch very closely for tomorrow because we have all modes of severe weather being possible as well. Damaging winds, large hail, isolated tornado threat, all in play for tomorrow, especially southeast of DFW. Going into the future radar, we will pretty much stay dry tonight across a large area of North Texas. Just a couple of passing showers or a downpour. Initially going into tomorrow morning, we'll have a cluster of storms beginning to develop back out through central Texas, back into south and southwestern Oklahoma. This will really start to develop into a pronounced line of storms going into the late morning and early afternoon. So this is right around 9 to 10 in the morning. We'll have those storms arriving to the DFW Metroplex, going through areas like central North Texas, and eventually that line will be going right across Interstate 35, and eventually going into the afternoon hours, that line continues to march across areas like western Arkansas, also through areas in eastern Texas, and eventually going to Monday evening into Tuesday morning, that area of storms will continue to march out to the east, beginning that next severe weather threat going into Tuesday. Now, taking a closer look at southeast Texas, areas like San Antonio and Houston, we're going to pay a close attention to this area going into tomorrow because we may have some pretty nasty severe storms down this way. By 4 to 5 o'clock, storms are going to be rolling through College Station. By 6 to 7, those storms continue to march out to the east. We'll eventually, by about 9 to 10 o'clock, have those storms pretty close to Houston, Texas. So I'll have to be watching these storms very closely. Again, we could see some large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornado threat with any of the storms, even this far south. By 1 to 2 in the morning, we'll begin to see maybe another area of storms developing back near Houston, and then going closer to the morning hours, all these storms shift off to the east, in either to the Gulf of Mexico or into Louisiana. Now, the overall severe weather threat going into Tuesday is currently a slight risk for Mississippi, back through southwest Tennessee, eastern Arkansas, and northeast Louisiana. So it's going to be a busy next several days. Line of storms will develop most likely and move through Mississippi going into the afternoon hours Tuesday. This is the big concern. I would expect mainly a damaging wind threat, but I can't rely on a brief spin up or maybe a brief tornado with this line. We'll have to be watching that pretty closely though over the next several days. Quick look at the temperatures. We'll have that cold front coming through over the next few days. That'll bring cooler weather to the central United States, really across the entire Great Plains, and it might bring a little bit of cooler weather around that low pressure system by midweek as it continues to move off to the east and northeast towards areas like New England. We'll have another trough potentially develop back out in the southern plains again going to next weekend. That might bring some cooler weather, so we'll be watching that very closely for you here on Max Velocity. Make sure to like the button down below and subscribe if you're not already. This forecast is brought to you by Platinum Contracting.